Hi everyone! In this video we will try together to solve one pizza problem proposed by hashcode this year, 2022. We will first understanding the problem, analyze it, proposing an algorithm solution, modeling the problem in Java programming language, and finally submitting the solution. I will also share with you the full source code in the description part. So let's get started. Welcome back. In this lecture, we will see together this section. First, understanding the problem. Second, proposing an algorithm solution. Third, modeling our solution using Java and programming-oriented objects. Fourth, creating Scoreboard Simulator. Submitting our generating output file solution. Let's see now the problem. The problem is we have a small pizzeria and our pizzeria offers just one type of pizza. Now you need to decide what ingredients to include. Each of your potential clients has some ingredients they like and maybe some ingredients they dislike. Each client will come to your pizzeria if both conditions are true. All the ingredients they like are on the pizza, and none of the ingredients they dislike are on the pizza. Each client is okay with additional ingredients they neither like nor dislike being present on the pizza. Your task is to choose which ingredients to put on your only pizza type to maximize the number of clients that will visit your pizzeria. So the input will be like this. The first line, C between 1 and 10 power 5, which represents the number of potential clients. The second line will be 2 power C. C represents clients. Describe the client's preferences in the following format. First line contains integer L between 1 and 5, followed by L names of ingredients the client likes, delimited by space. And second line contains integer D between 0 and 5, followed by D names of ingredients a client dislike, delimited by spaces. Each ingredient name consists of between 1 and 15, so this means the length of the ingredients. A maximum has 15 character, and this character will be lowercase letter from A to Z and digit from 0 to 9. Let's take an example of the input. As we see here, we have 3 clients. So this is the first one, the second one, and the third one. So the first client like this 2 ingredients, cheese and peppers, and there is no ingredient which dislike. The second client like basil and doesn't like pineapple. The third client like mushrooms, tomatoes, and doesn't like basil. So this is the input will be like this. Submission. The submission should consist of one line consisting of a single number, 0 less than n, followed by a list of n ingredients to put on the only pizza available in the pizzeria. So this store offers just one type of pizza. and after the treatment you should show this ingredient which should put in the pizza to maximize the number of clients. The list of ingredients should contain only the ingredients mentioned by at least one client without duplicates. So scoring, a solution scores 1 point for each client that will come to your pizzeria. A client will come to your pizzeria. This is the condition if all the ingredients they like are on the pizza and none of the ingredients they dislike are on the pizza. So this is the input as I show you. So let's see this output. So the output be like this. So here we have 4 ingredients, and this is the ingredient: cheese, mushrooms, tomatoes, and peppers. Let's see the score of this point. So the first client like cheese and peppers. Is the cheese and peppers in the output? Yes, this is peppers and cheese, and there is nothing in the disliked list. So this is the first client will come into our small pizzeria. Let's see the second one. The second one like basil. There is no basil in the output, so this client doesn't come into our store. So let's see the third one. The third one like mushrooms and tomatoes. So mushrooms and tomatoes presented in the output. The basil doesn't present it in the output. So also the third one will come into our store. So we have 2 points because 2 clients or customers will come into our store. So as we see here, this means submission of this output will score 2 points for this case because 2 clients, the first and the third one, would like this pizza. So let's see another input for B. Here we have 5 customers. The first one like this 2 ingredients, and there is nothing which doesn't like. As we see here, all these clients, the list of disliked ingredients is 0, as we see here. So this is the second input. Let's see the third input. So before to propose a solution, you should see all the inputs. So here we have 10 customers, and let's see the difficult, and here we have this number of clients. Each ingredient has a length of maximum 15. Here I proposed 2 algorithms. Algorithm 1 for the input A and B, and another algorithm for C, D, E input. So algorithm 1 for input A and B. First, taking all the ingredient customers, I mean liked ingredient and disliked ingredient list. Second, removing any ingredient from chosen ingredient list which is inside disliked list ingredient customer. Let's take an example. We have this input, 3 clients. This is the first one, second one, and the third one. Let's try to do algorithm number 1. Here I take all the ingredients. As we see here, cheese, peppers. Also I take basil, pineapple, mushrooms, tomato, and basil. So here we have a map. A map doesn't allow me to duplicate the K. After I take all the ingredients, I remove from the chosen ingredient list any disliked list inside the customer. So for example, the first one doesn't like any ingredient, so I pass into second customer. So the second customer doesn't like pineapple, so I remove from the list pineapple. And from the third one, I remove from the list a basil. Algorithm number 2 for input C, D, and E. Reordering customers list according to the disliked ingredient list in ascending order. So I reorder the customers according to disliked ingredient list from the shortest one into highest one. If two disliked ingredient list customers has the same size, we will take the customer with the shortest liked list ingredient. Third, taking all the ingredient liked list customers while there is no any disliked ingredient inside the taken list. So let's take an example. We have this input. So first I reorder the customers according to the size of disliked list. So as we see here, the customers number 1, the disliked ingredient list 0, so become the first one. And here the second customers and the third one has the same size in the disliked list 1 and here 1. If these two disliked lists are equals, I will pass into liked list. I take the shortest one. For that, I take the second customers in order number 2. As we see here, customers 2, basil and pineapple. And this is the third one, which has mushrooms, tomato in liked list and basil in the disliked ingredient list. After I reorder the customers, so I loop over the customer and here I choose cheese and peppers because the chosen lists in the beginning are empty. For that I choose cheese and peppers. Step number 2. Can I take basil? Yes, because the pineapple ingredient doesn't in the chosen list. For that I take basil. In each time I check from the disliked ingredient list. As you see, pineapple doesn't in the step 1. For that I take basil. So the customer number 3, as we see, the basil inside the disliked ingredient list and inside in the chosen ingredient list. For that I doesn't take mushrooms and tomato. So this is the result. The output will be 3 ingredients: cheese, peppers and basil. So this is the algorithm number 2. So now let's pass into modeling our solution using Java and programming oriented object. We have a model package which contains customer class. The customer class has 2 functions: liked ingredient, which is a list, contains a string value, and a disliked ingredient list. Also we have a service package which contains 2 classes. We have a helper class, contains read input file method. This method has txt input.txt file. After I read the input file, I generate a list of customers. In algorithm 1 has 2 inputs: list, customers, and map, which contains all ingredients. Why I use map? Because to grab any key, the complexity will be constant. For that I didn't use an array or a table. So the algorithm 1 returns a map. Here why I return this map? Because I need this map later for Scoreboard Simulator class. Algorithm 1, as I told you, I collect all the ingredients. After that, the algorithm 1 removes any ingredient inside into disliked list ingredient customer. And algorithm 2 has just one input, list customer. But in algorithm 2, as I told you, you should reorder the customers. For that, I used customer comparator class. So this class allows me to reorder the customer in ascending order according to disliked ingredient list. And finally, we have a method which allows us to create the output file. As we see, has two arguments. The first argument choosed ingredient list, and the second argument will be the name of this output. So we will talk later about customer comparator class in more details. Creating scoreboard simulator. So the role of scoreboard simulator to calculate the score output results. How we can do that? First, we need two files, input txt file and the output txt file. The input txt file generates a list of customers, and the output txt file generates the ingredients which should I put in the pizza. So second, loop over all customers one by one. If two conditions are true, we increment the counter by 1. But you should verify or check from this two conditions. 1. All liked ingredients list customer inside the chosen ingredient. All disliked ingredient list customer doesn't inside the chosen ingredient. So the class of local scoreboard simulator will be inside the model. Now here inside the service package, I make a mistake here. Service package get score has two parameter, list customer and a map which contains a chosen ingredient. So let's take an example of the scoreboard class. I open this input A and here output A, and I show you how you can calculate or the class scoreboard simulator works. So here I have the chosen ingredient list, and here we have the client. So here I check if the first ingredient inside this list, I pass into second one, and here papers inside also this list. I check from disliked list. If the disliked list doesn't in the chosen list, so I increment the counter by 1. The counter begin from 0. So here I have one client. So let's move into second one. The second one like basil and doesn't like pineapple. So basil doesn't inside this list. I overtake this customers, and let's move into third one. The third one like mushrooms and tomato. So mushroom and tomatoes inside the list. Okay, so let's move into disliked list, and basil doesn't inside this list. So this customers also comes into our store. So get score here returns 2. In this section we will talk together about Java source code program. You will find the link into source code in the description part below the video. This is the project. We have a model package which contains customer class, a service class which contains this 3 classes. Let's take a near look about customer class. As I told you, the customer class has a list of liked ingredients and disliked ingredient. I initialize this constructor by this toList, and here we have a getter for get liked ingredient list and disliked ingredient list. Let's see the main class. Here we have a helper class. Let's see that. As we see here, we have a string first group. The first loop for algorithm 1, input A and B, and the second loop for the input C, D, and E. And here I write the name of each txt file. This is the source, and we have the input. After executing, the program generates this output. I loop over the list for first group. I create a list of customers by helper class get input from file. Let's see this method. Get input from file as a parameter has a file name. Here we have a map which contains all the ingredients. We use this map for the first algorithm, and here I create a list of customers. I try to read this file with this name from the input folder. So as we see here, we have source code, and inside the input folder will be the txt files. We have a line string and number of customers. As I used a dynamic array, I didn't need this data because I used a dynamic table. So a dynamic table doesn't need to be specify the size in the beginning. For that, I skip it here. Here E began from 1, not 0. So here in this loop, as we have all lines, I do this loop. I read the first input and I create liked ingredient customers, and here I fill this list by the ingredients. And here why I put this line to recuperate all the ingredients. As we see here, this line is here in this loop, and the same thing is in the second loop for disliked ingredients. So after that, I move into the next line. As we see here, after I read this data, I move into the next line and I try to read the disliked list. So here I move into next line and I read this line, and the same thing, I avoid the first data, which is the size here. The same thing here, I avoid this data because, as I told you, I used dynamic list. After I create the liked ingredient and this liked ingredient, now I can create a customer. After that, I add this customer into customers list. I close buffer reader. So here we need a buffer reader to read the data from txt file, and I close it here. So helper.get all ingredients to recuperate all the ingredients map list, as we see here. And after that, we can apply the algorithm number 1. We have a list of customers and a map of ingredients. Let's see algorithm 1. So here I loop over all the customers. Each customers I look into disliked ingredient. If I find this ingredient inside all ingredients, I remove it from here. In the end, I return this map. The returned map doesn't contains any disliked ingredients customer. Here we have a note. I put here 0 because this data doesn't important. Here also why I use a map instead of list, because to recuperate from list the complexity of time is constant, but the list it doesn't constant. So in the list the worst cases will be the length of this list to recuperate the data. So in the algorithm 1 I returns a map, and here we have a helper.toArray list to transform a map into a list. Here I loop over the list. I take just the keys and I add this key into choosed ingredient list. And now, as I have this choosed ingredient list, I write the result. I write the result by the name of the input. So let's see. Write into file. So we need a print writer, and I generate the output inside this folder, output. This is the output folder. Here we need the size of this list, and here I loop over the choosed ingredient list, and I write here the results into this file. I separate the data by space, and I close the output file. So this is for loop 1, and the same thing for the second loop. So this is here just the result which my program gives for input C and D and E. I create a list of customers, and we can apply directly the algorithm number 2 because we need just the list of customers. Let's take a look. So here I reorder the customers according to the disliked ingredient list size, and here we need a customer comparator. Let's take a near look about this class, customer comparator. So here, if the disliked ingredient size equals the second customer's disliked ingredient size, I take the short liked ingredient list. So here this returns an integer. This integer is positive or negative or 0. So if this integer is positive, this means I reorder the customers in ascending order. And if returns negative results, this means I reorder the customer in decreasing order. So if this condition doesn't true, I do that. I return just the difference between the second object customers and the first one. So this class perform what I told you in the algorithm number 2. So we need a collection.sort to sort the customers, and here I create an object from hashmap. I loop over all the customers. If I find any ingredient in the disliked ingredient inside the chosen ingredient, I skip this block. If I didn't any disliked ingredient inside the chosen ingredient, I do this block. In this block, I add all the liked ingredient list inside the map. As we see here, dot put liked ingredients, and here 0 because the value doesn't important. And here I forgot to speak about local scoreboard simulator. This class gives us the score of our output file. So let's take a look about this class. To get the score, we need the customers and the chosen ingredients. Here we have two Boolean variables. I loop over all the customers. The first for loop, if I didn't find any ingredients in the liked list customers inside our output ingredients file, I didn't count this customer. So here we have two conditions. We verify the liked ingredient list. If I didn't find, I transform liked static into false, and the same thing. If I find here any disliked ingredient inside the ingredients, I skip this customers. If the program doesn't reach here and doesn't reach here, this customers means will come into our store. I repeat. So here, if I didn't any liked list inside the ingredients, the liked static will be false, and this means I can't reach into this block. If I find the ingredients liked list inside the chosen ingredients, and the same thing, the disliked ingredient doesn't in the chosen list, so I increment the customer count by 1. So here the same thing, I call the local board score simulator to get the score. So let's try to run and see the output. I create the first file in the output, and the score will be 2, and the score for the second output will be 5, the third one 3, and D will be this score, and for E will be this score, 1660. And this file will be generated automatically. So for D, as we see here, we have 500 ingredients, and this is the ingredients. Now I show you how you can submit the solution. I create a zip file from this folder which contains the source code, this is the first package and the second one, and this is the main class. Now search for hashcode, Google, and open the first link. So this is the result, and click try the practice problem now. Here you need to form a team. To reach into this dashboard, you need at least 2 members, and open the problem. So this is the problem. Here you can upload the source code. So this is the zip file, and here the output for A. Choose the file and go into output and choose here A. The same thing for B. And C and D and E. Submit 5 attempts. As we see now, the system analyzes our output and gives us a score. As we see here, the scores like we found. I wish the video was be helpful for you, and we will meet in other videos.